I caught my fiancé wasted, wearing my wedding dress, and covered in filth. He said it was a mistake. But my response shook him and everyone around us. I'm 28 and was supposed to get married last weekend to my fiancé, Nick, who is 30. We've been together for 4 years. He's funny and a little impulsive, but I always thought he had good judgment. He drinks socially, but I've never seen him totally out of control until now. The night before our wedding, I stayed at home with my sister and 2 of my bridesmaids for a relaxed night. Nick went out with his groomsmen. I expected him to come home tipsy at most. At around 1:30 in the morning, he came home absolutely wasted. Slurring, stumbling, sweaty. I was brushing my teeth when I heard him banging around in the guest room. When I went to check, I saw him dragging my wedding dress out of the closet. I asked what he was doing, and he just laughed and said he wanted to see how it felt to be the bride. I told him to put it back and not to touch it, but he was not listening at all. Right in front of me, he stripped down completely and started putting on the dress. He could barely get it over his body and kept tripping over the train. I didn't know what to say. Then he dropped to the floor in the dress, still laughing. Then he went quiet, looked up at me with this panicked face, and said, "Oh no." A few seconds later, he had an accident. Diarrhea. It soaked through the back of the dress and onto the carpet. The smell was immediate and overwhelming. I stood there in shock while he started crying and tried to get out of the dress, which only made more of a mess. It was all over the fabric, the floor, and him. I told him to get in the shower and I left. I drove straight to my mom's house and didn't take any of his calls. The next morning, I called off the wedding. Since then, Nick has apologized over and over. He said he blacked out and barely remembers what happened. His family is furious with me and says I'm throwing away a great relationship over a drunken mistake. Some of my friends agree and think I should have postponed instead of canceling. Even my maid of honor said I might be letting emotions take over and that it wasn't unforgivable. But I feel like something broke that night. I didn't just feel disgusted. I felt disrespected. The dress wasn't just expensive, it was important to me. It symbolized something. I cannot unsee what happened. I can't laugh about it or move on like it's just one bad night. I don't know how to look at him the same way. Am I overreacting for calling off the wedding? Relevant comments: does Nick have problems with alcohol or drugs? OP, he's never had problems with alcohol before, not that I know of at least. Do you think it's a sign of something worse? Commenter 1, is this something that happens often? Does he often get blackout drunk? If yes, consider this a bullet dodged. Either way, it is a little concerning he got blackout drunk the day before your wedding. I think you need to have a conversation to figure out whether this is a relationship worth saving. OP, no. This is the first time he's even gotten this drunk in the time I've known him, which is why I think I might be overreacting. Commenter 1, is it possible that someone put something in his drink? From your description this is not in character for your fiancé. OP, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe, could it really have caused all of that? Also he was out with his friends, not like he was with strangers. Commenter 2, people are still themselves when they are blackout drunk. I've seen my husband fend off flirty women when he was so drunk. He was still himself when he ignored you. He was still himself when he wore your wedding dress, something that is obviously special and off limits. The dress is the most important item of the most important day of your life. And he shat on it. No one forced him to get that drunk, and he was still himself when drunk. OP, I don't know, I'm worried some of his friends might have been pressuring him to drink. Commenter 3, it's the series of bad decisions that gets me here. First, getting piss, or in this case, shit, drunk the night before your wedding. 30-year-olds can't bounce back like a 21-year-old can. Being hungover at your own wedding is a bad look. Go ham at the bachelor party, sure, but maybe keep it to a couple drinks max the night before. Second, it's deciding to drunkenly put on your fiancé's dress. I'll be honest, I'd be terrified to go anywhere near it until after the wedding. I wouldn't want to be the cause of any sort of issue with it, especially with 24 hours until the wedding. Third, it's the decision to keep going even though you are struggling and ignoring your pleas to stop. Hard to excuse so many bad decisions in such a short time. Update, next day. Hi again. First off, thank you to everyone who responded. I didn't expect the level of attention my post got, and honestly, reading the replies made me feel less alone. Some people told me I was right to call it off. Others said it was a terrible mistake, but not unforgivable. Both sides helped me see the situation more clearly. I spoke to Nick this morning. Not for closure, not for a big emotional talk, just to return some things and check in about logistics, since everything's been cancelled. But we ended up sitting down and talking for over an hour. He apologized again. Sincerely. He didn't try to defend himself or shift blame. He told me he didn't remember everything clearly but knows he came home wasted, saw the dress, and in his words, thought it would be funny or meaningful or something. He didn't mean to ruin the dress. He didn't mean to humiliate me. But he did. And he knows that. He said he's ashamed of what happened and of how out of control he let himself get. He also admitted this wasn't the first time his drinking led to something bad. He said this was a wake-up call and that he's going to stop drinking entirely. I didn't even know he had a problem. The thing is, I still care about him. We were supposed to get married. I didn't walk away from someone I didn't love. But something inside me cracked that night, and it hasn't healed. I don't know if it will. I know it sounds superficial to some people, but for me, it was a symbol of our future. Of the person I thought I was marrying. And watching him defile it in that state, whether on purpose or by accident, changed something. I've been trying to figure out if that one night should be the end of 4 years together. But it's not really just that one night, is it? It's what it revealed. About how he handles stress. About how far he let himself go. About how I felt standing in that room, watching someone I loved become almost unrecognizable. I haven't made a final decision yet. Technically, the wedding is still cancelled, but the relationship isn't officially over. We're on a kind of emotional pause, I guess. He says he wants to make things right. And maybe he will. Maybe with time, I'll want to try again. But right now, I still feel like I'm grieving something that ended. And I don't know if I'm ready to build it back from scratch. So I guess I'm now asking, am I overreacting if I walk away from this completely? Top commenter, not at all overreacting. This is not about the dress but what it meant to feel powerless as he did something stupid, thoughtless, and immature after drinking himself into a stupor, and the glimpse into your future you got that you couldn't gaslight yourself into ignoring because it ruined something so symbolic and expensive. Believe the symbolism. This is a red flag. Not that he's a bad person, but that this partnership might come with significant difficulty long term as he continues to cope with life stresses in immature ways that leave you always having to be the adult in the house. I've been in relationships where I've made excuses for every red flag. I've seen loved ones endure relationships with addicts hoping they'll change if they just pour enough love in. None of them realized there was a problem at first either, but it seems like your BF is admitting there is something to that theory. None of the aforementioned relationships had a happy ending, and most have been extremely, extremely bad in a way that seemed uncharacteristic for the partner when he finally hit his rock bottom. He may genuinely want to change, and you may be hopeful that could fix some things, but long-term a lot of people have trouble quitting substances when nothing of significance has changed for them, and they're still in a situation where they can see opportunities to drink or use and know they can without losing much. Comfort and stability are your enemies when fighting addiction, because they enable a reticence to change. I want to add, staying in a relationship where you feel like you have to be the adult and take steps to manage the other person's behavior gets extremely taxing and builds a lot of resentment very quickly. Think of this as something that tore off your rose-colored glasses and made you look at an ugliness you didn't want to see, held your eyes open to a version of your future you didn't anticipate. If you are absolutely 100% sure this is a one-time thing, it might be reparable, but I feel like if you're willing to lose all the money and effort sunk into planning a wedding and go through the ordeal of canceling, that seems like it implies a larger issue underneath, whether it's about the way he handles stress, his propensity to hurt you with little careless things, or how often you envision yourself cleaning up his messes or managing his behavior in your lives together. The cliché is true: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. I made excuses for everything my ex did that made my skin crawl, and when we finally broke up I was worried he might actually murder me for months. Even now, a few years later, I don't think that was crazy. I think he was more than capable of it, resented me, and I believe he tried to break into my apartment at one point about a month after the breakup. Obviously a different situation, but for years other people in our lives had tried to point out red flags to me, and he did things that definitely gave me a lot of pause, but I always opted to look for the best in him. In hindsight, I embellished and exaggerated some goodness that wasn't really there. I lost 5 years of my life to that relationship, and figuring out where to go from here has been incredibly difficult. I wish I had left the first time something he said or did gave me the sinking feeling of, this is my future, and I don't like it, rather than convincing myself I was overreacting and being unfair. Please learn from my mistakes. Commenter 2, I don't think it's an overreaction to want to walk away completely. And I also think that if there's any part of you that wants to salvage things, you need to walk away completely first. If you guys keep being close and talking and living together and all of those other things, neither of you will have a chance to move past this or heal or improve. People in general don't change if what they're doing works. And if he can keep you the way he is, he will slip back into drinking. But you also won't be able to change if you're still with him, and I think that's something that you need for yourself, is to be alone and to be independent for a while. I would suggest you guys taking a year or two apart and then revisiting and deciding if it's worth trying again. Moving on to our next story, and it says, Fiancé, M30, called off our wedding a week before and left me, F30, in complete confusion? We've been together for about 6 years and lived together for context. What happened basically was an argument that escalated. We were heading to my program graduation. It's a smaller event of about 10 students and some professors from a community college. On that morning as we were getting ready, I asked if he would be okay to wear one of his button-ups instead of the shirt he had on so we can get a nice photo. He was annoyed and snapped saying, "Why do I have to do things for others?" And I told him that he truly doesn't have to. I was just asking, but it's ultimately his choice. He ended up putting the button up and we arrived at the ceremony. Everything went fine and he was very happy for me. However, on the way home in the car, traffic was filling up and he was annoyed. I offered an alternative route that I know cuts some time and the exit to that route was coming up. He didn't take it and I was slightly annoyed about it because he was cranky with me about traffic. So, I asked why he didn't take it. He started full on yelling that my tone is rude and that he doesn't have to drive the way I tell him to. I replied saying that I literally just asked and I don't actually care what route he takes. He was the one having a problem with traffic. He blew up and blamed me for getting him upset. When we got home, I apologized and explained that I didn't mean to come across as mean. I also said that screaming doesn't help in any situation and that we should talk instead. He basically explained that an apology doesn't solve anything and that he needs such things to not happen, otherwise he would continue exploding at me because that's the only time I listened to him. After a few hours we spoke again. He apologized for yelling and I apologized for the miscommunication that happened. Despite resolving this, later that night, I was crying due to the fact that he so easily yells at me when he's upset. I was so upset that even on such an important day for me, I felt like he picked fights. And to add to this, yelling is such a red flag for me and I never do that to him or anyone for that matter. The next morning we were having breakfast and he asked why I seemed gloomy, so I told him that everything's okay, I'm just processing what happened yesterday. He asked me to please share with him, so I told him that I felt like my special day was kind of ruined by fighting about things we could have easily resolved. He immediately just flipped and started getting angry again. He blamed me for the fights and when I replied that I don't think it's fair to blame me, he got angrier and said that he can't do this, that I'm not a good communicator and that he cannot get married like this. I was full on shocked. I thought he was talking out of emotion, like many times before, but this time he actually ended up sending a mass text to some guests to let them know that the wedding is called off. I was flabbergasted at the quickness and so confused. We started arguing and then had to leave for our days. Later that day when we returned, I asked if this is truly something he wants, to call everything off, and he responded with a confident yes. What I thought was an action out of anger seemed to be solid for him. For the rest of the night and the next day, I tried to fix things between us. After many hours of talking and lots of crying from my end, he kept explaining that I don't communicate well and that this cancellation my fault. I tried to offer some solutions but he was full on with the decision to cancel and break up. I asked if we could give it another day or two to ensure this is what he wants before we cancel the venue. He declined and asked to cancel the venue and vendors immediately. So we did. The next day, I went on errands and then met with my friend. It was truly such a hard day and I was heartbroken, still digesting this is happening. When I came home, he asked to talk and started crying that he regrets everything he said in the last days. That he didn't mean it, he was angry and didn't think straight. He said he will start therapy and wanted to do couples counseling now too, after I offered it many times. Anyway, he apologized profusely and kept asking if we can mend everything or whether he fucked up. I was almost sure this regret would come and honestly, maybe it was mean but I said, yeah, you fucked up big time. You made a rash decision that hurt our relationship big time. There's no going back from here. He pretty much begged for another chance but everything is cancelled and my trust is shattered. The wedding's supposed to be in 2 days, his aunt was supposed to be on the way to our house to help us pack decorations and now, there's no way we can schedule everything again and frankly, I don't want to at this point. This is not the first he cancels plans or breaks up with me during a disagreement. Everyone is telling us that this is fixable, that clearly we love each other so if we want, this situation doesn't have to be the end of the relationship. But I don't understand how? So much time, effort, and money has gone into this wedding that's now done. And plus, more importantly, I can't trust him anymore. I don't know what to do at this point. We were supposed to go on honeymoon right after, so now I'm thinking on going by myself. He asked if we can go together and spend that time to fix things, but I'm just questioning everything. I think I prefer going myself to do some soul searching. Should I call this quits and move on with my life or take his word and start couples counseling? I love him with my entire heart and we had many loving experiences between us over the years. We don't have any issues aside from such incidents, but I don't know whether it's actually possible to come back from this one. Opie's commenter, For me, what sticks out is he seems bent on ruining special moments for you. That feels calculated. Does he have trouble controlling his temper/reactions at work? With friends? If not, he's choosing to use you as a punching bag. OP, he has trouble controlling his reactions with friends and work too. Once he cools down, he processes what happened and tried to ensure it won't happen again. Although these situations have lessened with time, this last blow-up was disproportionately huge. Top comment, commenter, you don't want to marry this man and he's doing you a huge favor. Huge. Find a place to live, extricate yourself financially from him and thank your lucky stars you're not going to waste a decade with a man who screams at you all the time before you get that divorce. God forbid you have kids with him. Update, 5 days later. Just wanted to provide an update. Since all this happened, he apologized profusely and offered to return the venue and still go and get married on the same day. He also offered couples counseling starting now and right after we get married, if I still want to. He also offered to go on the trip together to fix things. I declined to everything since the damage has been done and I decided to go on the honeymoon myself while he packs all his items. He's going to start his own therapy journey while we're broken up. I don't know what's next, but this hurts so much because we still love each other. He's going to work on his mental health to address the impulsive actions when he's upset. He also realized it wasn't actually a communication issue but rather how he felt attacked due to his own confidence. I appreciate his honesty but can't see how it's possible to forgive what happened. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, I agree, it is very telling he throws a tantrum about a shirt on the day SHE has an achievement. Now that he cancelled anything she liked for the wedding, he offers a "fine, I'll do it" wedding which will feel like crap the entire day. She is embarrassed in front of all the guests and everything will be a last minute make do. I bet if OP looks back they happen to have fights when she is looking forward to or happy about something. Any fights before big tests? Visiting family? Trips she is looking forward to. OP needs to take a minute and think, does the honeymoon without EX feel like a relief? Think about going with him, does that feel like something you would have to mentally work up to managing him? OP, he was thoroughly involved in planning the wedding. And honeymoon. He was very excited, or at least it seemed so. The tantrum is definitely just embarrassing. Commenter, he's shown you how easy you are to throw away. What happens when he pulls this again but this time there's kids and he walks out? You deserve better. I'm sending you all the hugs. OP, this is a hard truth to swallow but you're spot on. Mini update, 4 months later. Commenter, you dodged a bullet? OP, definitely did. Thankful it ended this way since I was so humiliated I couldn't go back. Smiley face. Update, 7 months later. For everyone who attempted to talk some sense into me. You all have no idea how many times the comments in the original post saved me from going back and second-guessing myself. You literally saved me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. The moment I stepped back fully, I felt so much more like myself, a confident, lively, and silly version of myself. I missed her so much, and to add to it, my 31st birthday felt like a complete rebirth. Almost a year later, I'm somehow the happiest I've ever been. My entire life fell apart, and I struggled immensely, but surprise! Everything worked out. Now I'm in a new relationship, and it feels so peaceful, which took a lot of adjusting, too. The ex feels like a past life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For anyone reading this, please leave the abusive relationship. If you're questioning whether it's abusive, the odds of it being so are high. Your sanity, mental wellness, and physical health matter. Don't forget that. It does get better, not only in movies. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, I'm so happy to read this update. Your ex canceling such a big event and holding it hostage because he didn't want to accept criticism of his behavior is so toxic. I'm glad you found a new relationship that makes you feel peaceful and secure. Have you heard from your ex at all? How did the breakup go, if you don't mind me asking? OP, he moved out, and then we met on the day of the wedding for a closure conversation. Lots of crying and we kissed for the last time. Thankfully, I felt nothing. This is how I knew it was over. He continued wanting to get back together and started intensive therapy with the support of his family. We stayed in contact for a bit before I realized it didn't feel good, so we cut contact. He remained hopeful of reconciliation but respectful of my wishes to stop communication. Commenter, honestly that's about as good of an outcome as someone in this situation could hope for. The fact that you recognized the contact was bringing you pain and made a conscious decision to step away from that is not an easy thing to do. You should be proud of yourself. OP, truly, the best outcome. Many said, thank your lucky stars, and now I understand. Thanks for the support. Smiley face. Commenter, wow, so happy for you. Your original post/situation sounded traumatic. I know it would have taken me years to be fully healed and get into a new relationship. You'll see Redditors on this sub who say that dump him is the automatical default response and that OPs should stick it out and die on that hill. However, for us, we have no skin in the game. We go back to our lives. OP is left facing their choices. Glad you're at peace now. OP, Redditors see things from their own lens, so the intention is positive, but yeah, the hand is light on the keyboard. Thank you. Only after fully leaving, it was possible to digest how abusive the dynamic was. Like actually acknowledging it instead of thinking, oh he's hurt, I should be compassionate, BS. Was in therapy before and still continuing, that's been a tremendous support. Commenter, like the kids say these days, he FAFO'd hard. What a tough lesson he had to learn. As for you, wow, you should be so proud of yourself, I'm so happy for you. OP, appreciate the love. Both of us learned some tough lessons, but I'm grateful it happened. He made me capable of handling such deep emotional pain that I'm not even scared of anything else anymore. Moving on to our next story, and it says, my brother's fiancé has cut off our whole family, and I don't know what to do anymore. My younger brother and I were super close growing up, but we've drifted over the years. He's always been outgoing and well-liked, though also stubborn and firm in his beliefs. He started dating his now fiancée, Ursula, in 2016 when they were 15 and 16. They're now engaged and have a 2-year-old son. Ursula has always been polite but distant with our family. During COVID, she moved into my parents' home, and shortly after, became pregnant. They didn't pay rent while living there and used 2 of my parents' cars. When their baby was 6 months old, they moved in with her family, where they now help care for her younger siblings and support the household. After they moved, Ursula claimed my mom was verbally and emotionally abusive. My mom is blunt and not the most tactful, but she's not someone who goes out of her way to be cruel. Some of Ursula's examples include my mom saying the baby looked like my brother, which she took as an insult, or suggesting Ursula consider staying home with the baby while my brother provided financially. My mom later followed up, just asking what her long-term plans were, not to judge, but to stay informed. Ursula took that as criticism too. Before the baby's first birthday, Ursula confronted my mom, explaining how hurt she'd felt. My mom apologized and tried to clarify, but Ursula told others the apology was insincere and that my mom was gaslighting her by framing Ursula as the problem. Then for the baby's first birthday, Ursula didn't invite our parents or tell anyone in our family when or where it was, until the day of, when it rained and they asked if they could have it at my parents' house. My parents agreed, pulled it together last minute, and hosted all of Ursula's extended family, while ours was mostly excluded. For the following year, they skipped every family holiday and get-together, always citing illness or emergencies. They would sometimes visit my parents' home only when they knew no one else would be there. My husband and I have 2 kids close in age to my nephew. We planned a wedding in December 2024 after 4 years of marriage. In the lead-up, I tried reaching out to my brother to reconnect, especially for the holidays and his son's 2nd birthday. He brushed me off and said I should make plans with Ursula. The thing is, she had messaged me and my mom a couple months before, and we both responded with possible dates. She deleted our replies and told my brother we never answered. When I showed my brother the proof, he seemed surprised and said he'd talk to her. But right before our rehearsal dinner, she sent me a long message claiming she hadn't gotten our texts and rehashing all the old accusations against my mom. I told her I was busy with the wedding and we could talk later. She didn't show up to the rehearsal dinner, and the next day, she came to the bridal suite only to get her hair done, with my brother supervising, barely said anything, and didn't stay to get ready with us. They were late to the ceremony. Their son wore red Crocs and a dirty shirt. They left the reception early and later accused me and my husband of ignoring her, and claimed the whole family gave her the cold shoulder, at a wedding of 100+ people. 2 days later, they had a birthday party for their son but didn't invite any of our family. Ursula sent a copy-paste version of her message to my older sister, again listing all the past accusations. My sister responded calmly and factually, disproving many of her claims, including that my mom and Ursula had hugged and chatted at the reception. Every time my sister made a valid point, Ursula deflected, changed the topic, and eventually just blocked her. The next day, she sent a similar message to me on Christmas. I responded with kindness, saying we loved her and wanted to reconnect. I asked that we stop excluding my parents. She doubled down, said she's never been accepted by our family, and said she regretted ever entering our lives. I reminded her that she and my mom had already talked things out over a year ago, and haven't interacted since. But she kept saying my mom wasn't sincere. She then sent a final long message to my mom, accusing her of spreading lies and rumors. For context, my mom has made no effort to talk about or even mention Ursula since their last conversation. After that, Ursula blocked all of us on social media, left our family group chat, and had my brother leave too. I've created new chats and tried texting my brother, he doesn't respond. We haven't seen them since the wedding. My family visits every other month and I always try to reach out when we're in town. Nothing. No response. No effort. I want to understand what is going on and how to move forward. I love my brother and want to be part of my nephew's life. I don't hate Ursula, and I've never been unkind to her. But everything is always twisted into an attack, and I feel stuck. I'm at a loss. Also worth noting, all of Ursula's complaints and confrontations happen only through long text messages. She has never once brought up any of this in person. In real life, she's always quiet and reserved. Top comments. Commenter 1. She creates drama but won't actually talk face-to-face where her claims could be challenged in real time. This is textbook controlling behavior and I'm worried for him. Commenter 2. Send your brother an email and tell him that you will be there for him when he's ready to reconnect. And stop trying with Ursula. Do not entertain her nonsense anymore when she rehashes her imagined grievances against your mom. Leave the ball in your brother's court and let him know that you are no longer going through her because she is unreasonable and he is your brother. I know it's painful, but focus on everyone else and live your lives. If he hasn't blocked you all on social media, he'll see that you all can. Get along without him and his oversensitive, controlling weasel of a wife. Maybe he'll even miss you. Commenter 3. It honestly sounds like she is intentionally trying to cut your family out, and your brother doesn't have the spine to stand up to her. Might be time to take a step back and leave the ball in his court. You've already bent over backwards trying to maintain a relationship with her while she has systematically undermined the relationship between them and your family. Update. Next day, after talking to my siblings quick backstory, I've mentioned my sister before, the one who got blocked after trying to help sort out some family drama. Let's call her Beth. She ended up having a conversation with my brother, Joseph, and Ursula, another family member involved in all of this. Beth didn't know Ursula was going to be there, so she waited until she walked into the room. When she did, Beth greeted her with a simple, "Hi," and Ursula immediately snapped back with, "I don't want to talk to you, and you shouldn't be here." Beth pushed back, saying she had every right to be there since she was given a key. Then Ursula threw out 2 accusations, one from 8 years ago, yes, really, and another that's already been proven false. Here's the wild part, both Joseph and Ursula know that second accusation is complete BS. It's been debunked, and Beth had nothing to do with it. But Ursula still tried to spin it as if, somehow, it would make sense that the lie came from Beth even though it's been fully cleared up. Total mental gymnastics. The convo obviously went nowhere, and Beth left. A few hours later, Ursula started messaging Beth, saying she wasn't being genuine and didn't apologize. Beth didn't engage, especially since she only showed up to try to clear the air and move forward. But Ursula just kept blowing up her phone, demanding an apology over and over again. Later that night, Joseph talked to our other brother, let's call him Brian, and told him that both he and Ursula felt cornered by Beth showing up unannounced. During their convo, it became clear that Joseph was seriously exaggerating what went down. He claimed Ursula was attacked and belittled, and also said he explained to Beth why she needed to apologize. Except, he didn't. Brian asked more questions and realized Joseph never actually told Beth why she was supposedly in the wrong, just gave a vague recap of past events. So now all of this is being relayed back to Beth so she can decide what to do next. Ursula's still expecting an apology for how she felt treated back in December. And look, I get that people are allowed to feel what they feel. But if there is going to be an apology, it should come from a place of honesty and personal reflection, not guilt-tripping or emotional manipulation just to glue the family back together. Relevant comments. OP clarifies the detail on her sister, Beth, having a key. OP, for clarity, the whole conversation between Beth, Joseph, and Ursula happened at our aunt's LLC. Beth has been working as assistant doing what our aunt doesn't have time for. Joseph has just started working there to sort out the clerical side of things. Commenter 1, let it go. Let your brother know you're there if he chooses to reach out, and then stop. Don't contact them. Don't try to mediate or intervene. Your brother is a grown-ass man and he's chosen to support his partner. So let him go until he grows up. ABD reaches out. OP, I came to Reddit because the siblings are split on how to handle this. I would like to go the route of holiday and important event messages, while Beth would like to cut them off entirely, especially after Ursula trying to force an apology from her. Joseph and Brian were in regular contact as Brian isn't trying to ruffle any feathers to stay close enough to our nephew. We all just wanted a little insight to see how much longer we'd have to endure the distance. Commenter 2, just stop. Stop trying to be cool with people who clearly don't respect you guys. It looks like y'all are begging for a relationship that's dead in the water. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. Your brother is lying to cover for his fiancée, and you're still trying to make it work with him? Let it go. Block them, go no contact, change your number, whatever it takes. Stop giving energy to people who keep showing you they don't care. Commenter 3, your brother is choosing the life he wants to lead. Now you get to choose how you want to live your life. Is it living in a state of drama with the lead actress writing the script as she goes along? Or is it in peace, where you decide your own story? Moving on to our next story, and it says, Ada for calling off my wedding after finding out my fiancé never had the money he promised to contribute? I, 33F, have been with my partner, 32M, for 5 years. He proposed in March 2024 and we agreed to get married in December 2025. He promised to cover 70% of the wedding costs and said he'd transfer money to my account whenever I paid for something. I ended up handling all the planning and bookings. By April this year, I had already paid around $500K, local currency. But when I checked, he hadn't sent me a single cent. I kept reminding him, and he always said, yes, baby, after work. I work in an accounting firm with over 40 clients, so I'm insanely busy and didn't have time to double-check every day. But I trusted him. When we finally sat down to talk about it, I found out he didn't actually have the money. He planned to ask his parents or use future income, meaning he had been lying about having savings. All this time, he bragged about being financially stable and successful. He's a lawyer, but apparently, it was all talk. I understand that people can go through tough financial times, but lying about it and letting me carry all the burden? That felt like a betrayal. I decided to call off the wedding and the relationship. Now he's throwing the wedding expenses in my face, even though I did all the work. My parents think I should go through with it since the engagement has already been announced to family. Ada for calling it off? I feel heartbroken, used, and honestly, fooled. And seriously, if you can't afford to get married, why propose in the first place? Some of OP's comments, commenter, because you already announced it, is among the worst reasons to go through with a marriage. OP, I'd rather save my future than to save face LMAO. To a commenter, for real. If trust is broken before the marriage, what more after? Not worth the risk. And TBH, it's really non-negotiable for me. Update, 8 days later. Hi everyone, thank you so much for the support. I didn't expect my post to get much attention, but reading your responses helped me feel less alone and more validated in what I was feeling. It's been a week since I called everything off. He's been texting and calling nonstop, flip-flopping between apologizing and guilt-tripping me. At one point he said, we can still fix this, it's just money. But it was never just about the money. It was the lying, the manipulation, the months of pretending to be someone he wasn't, and letting me drown financially and emotionally while he played the role of the dependable fiancé. I'm staying with a close friend for now while I sort things out. I've cried more than I thought possible, but each day I feel a little lighter. The fog is lifting. His family finally reached out, trying to mediate. His mom even asked if we could just scale down the wedding instead of canceling it. I told them very calmly that there is no wedding to scale down. I'm done. And I mean it. I've also started looking through everything I paid for, checking which vendors I can cancel or get partial refunds from. It sucks, NGL, but I'd rather lose money than lose myself in a marriage built on lies. My parents are slowly coming around. My dad said something last night that really hit me. It's better to disappoint people for a moment than to disappoint yourself for a lifetime. I don't know what comes next. But I know what I left behind, and I know it was the right thing to do. Thank you so much again. You really helped me a lot.